Hello and welcome to the little preview version of Mother Circle. Um, I'm so glad that you all could make it here today. I'm excited for us to gather. Through this experience today, I'm just going to be the one to kind of hold the container, keep us on time, keep us moving through things. So if you need anything or have any questions, you're welcome to type into the chat. You can tag me and I'll jump in. I wanted to just kind of, we'll get to introducing ourselves here momentarily and kind of explain a little bit about what to expect. But one thing that I wanted to say, one thing I wanted to kind of bring forward is listening during the circle, listening from our heart, listening from a place of attentiveness. So if we can hold ourselves while listening to other people, it's a skill to be practiced and learned. So we're going to start with a few things, and then we'll kind of get back to the circle here. Let's see. Another thing that I want to keep thinking about is as we're sharing here in the circle, I ask you to speak directly from your heart and using statements like I, blah, blah, blah. I feel, I am, I statements, okay? And in this circle, we don't give advice here. We can ask if you'd like to receive witnessing or if you'd like to give some thoughts, but we actually don't give advice while we're here in the circle. So let's go with, do we want to talk about what do we want to talk about next?
I think we'll be just introducing ourselves and then moving on to, a mini circle, just to give a bit of a taster of how a full circle could look like and feel.
Yeah, so all of us here are Mother Circle facilitators, and we're from kind of all over the place. And we came together for the specific collective because we felt bringing each other together could be powerful in different ways than just one facilitator speaking. So I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of briefly introduce ourselves, where we're coming from, and maybe a little bit about why we were brought or called toward Mother Circle to begin with. And so I can begin by just saying, my name is Sara, and I have 4 children. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, and I was called to Mother Circle because I could feel the lack of support around deeper questions. You know, I can outsource or hire people to do a lot of things in my home, but what I was really craving was like deep, deep motherhood connection. So, Aurora, you want to go next?
Thank you. My name is Aurora. I am originally from Italy, as you can glance from my Italian accent. I've been living in the UK for 12 years and obviously, learning the English language so that I communicate and I can listen and understand, allow me, to learn, lots of things from all over the world. So I'm grateful for this online container, which actually brought me to Mother Circle in the first place. The first one I joined with Kimberly and Johnson was in January 2020, just before the birth of my first son. And I was called to, lead this as a collective because I am interested in a shared experience that, it's beyond languages, boundaries, and culture, especially in these very, very troublesome times. So yeah, here I am, and I'm hoping again to bring my experience with previous mother circles and obviously my experience as facilitator on the table.
Thank you. So I'm Marion, and I'm a mother of a daughter who was born during COVID. So my experience coming into motherhood was brutal. I'm French, and I live in Boston, so I've been living in the US for 10 years. And I was feeling completely uprooted, alone in the wind, like it's just like uh very a very, very hard experience. And when I saw that there were circle for women, especially for mothers, I was like, wow, no, I want to be a part of this. We just sit and talk like sounds like a dream. And when I sat in a circle for the first time, I realized that there's so much more than that. This just being together, really listening and really saying things, experimenting with thoughts that, it gives us freedom it gave me the freedom to say some things that I wasn't even sure that I was feeling, or it was a great um, transformational space. And as Sarah was saying, like asking deeper questions and talking about what it truly is to be a mother, not just the superficial, like talk that we can have at the playground. So that was it for me. Laura or Clara?
My name's Clara. I have 2 children, and I live in Western Massachusetts on the East Coast, US. When I started my journey with Mother Circle, I actually lived in San Francisco, California, in a pretty different life. And my kids were much younger. And I remember feeling that, sometimes a bit in pieces, and that my experience in Mother Circle, sitting with the group each week, helped me weave myself back together in a certain way. It definitely has been a place, even as my kids are, now in a different moment, and I too, just a place to discover and rediscover myself in relationship with the resources offered, and also the people who feel called to come together for this. So, and one thing I love about Mother Circle is, yes, it is about it. We are coming together as people who are mothers, and sometimes people in the circle are aunties, or work with mothers in different ways, or have come to motherhood in really different ways. But it feels to me like such a whole person way of like the whole arc of what we get to travel through in 8 weeks together, and then those connections also continue on. But I found it to be really just super integrating, and a really like orienting, sort of like a little compass inside that has helped me in many other situations and in my life as a facilitator, also outside of Mother Circle. How about you, Laura?
Yeah, I'm Laura. I am coming to you from the land of the Coast Salish peoples in Bellingham, Washington. And I come from a really varied background. I was born in Detroit, and when my parents divorced, my mom and I moved to the commune where Ina May Gaskin lived and lives, or lived. And so I spent my childhood in multifamily households holding Mother Circle for birth and midwifery, and a really baby-centered culture. And then the rest of my life felt very different from that when we were not living there. And when I became a mother, I felt this deep grief for what I didn't have, because I had known it when I was younger and had the context for what that's like to be held. So when I came across this option, this ability to hold again, to recreate and to call in women in circle, people who mother, I just felt so called to help create the culture, to help hold the space, to help women find their whole experience that this container does. This circle and the experience of these 8 weeks is so profound. And many of the practices each week take us into places I couldn't have imagined, and were so healing. And like other people have said, it's something that we can return to, or returning to ourselves, as well as a returning to many of our cultural experiences from our ancestors, and also returning throughout the seasons. So these are really amazing teachings. So that's a lot of the inspiration for coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you all for sharing. I would like to invite Aurora into opening the space from a breath perspective.
Thank you. Breath practices are part of Mother Circle. We usually have like a different one for each class, or almost each class. And the idea behind the breath practice, we will guide you through, an exercise. So a different way of breathing, or a way to focus on your breath in a different way, and allow you to have your own sensations and feelings about it. So I will describe the practice now. And then, there'll be space during the actual circle to just describe how the breath made you feel. The breath has an intention, but obviously, as in this circle, we allow you to feel the way you want to feel about it. If at any time you feel discomfort, pain, absolutely, stop. You don't have to continue through pain or discomfort. And again, feel free to share about it or not really. This breath is called Accordion Breath. And as an accordion, we will focus on the expansion and then sort of the letting go part of the breath, which is the exhale. So first of all, we move from our natural breath, however fast it is, it doesn't really matter, into a comfortable seated or standing position. I'm seated now. I will start the practice here, and I will show you standing in a second. For this breath practice, we'll first start by either closing our eyes or having a soft gaze, or if it's safer to feel the eyes open, please feel free to leave them open. Just maybe move them away from the screen to give your eyes also a little bit of a break. And let's start just by, again, moving from a space in which breath is on the background, moving our attention totally on the breath, if we can. And just literally noticing how the breath feels now. It might be easier at the beginning to notice every inhale and maybe just naming it as inhale, and every exhale and naming it as an exhale, either like out loudly or, inwardly. And when you feel ready, we're going to use our hands and position them just below the brow line. I'm going to show you by standing. So we'll place our hands in this shape just below our ribs. And I'm pregnant at the moment, so I might not be the best model. So just below our brow line, in a place that feels comfortable. Like if it's here is painful, feel free to move them forwards or backwards in a way that you could sustain this without pain. And we then just bring our breath into our ribs. So with every inhale, our ribs expand, and with every exhale, our ribs sort of meet again together. Especially during pregnancy, there's very much of a restriction happening because obviously baby, the space the baby occupies in the belly. So moving our breath up in our ribs and expanding allows, to maintain flexibility there and allows for like a fuller breath. And even if you're not pregnant now, this might stay in your postpartum period, the period whether it's like a month, 3 months, years after you've given birth. So each time you breathe in, you feel the ribs expanding, moving away from each other. And when you breathe out, the ribs come closer. And just allow yourself to play with the pressure you put on your ribs. Sometimes the light pressure is enough and you don't want to move into discomfort. Sometimes a stronger pressure is more pleasurable. In your next exhale, just let your hands go, let them relax. And just for a moment, allow yourself to stay with your eyes closed or with a soft gaze and feel the effects of the practice, wherever they might be for you. Thank you for joining me in this practice.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. It's such an honor to also be with you in your pregnancy, feeling your baby. Thanks, Aurora.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I didn't feel like saying at the beginning, but obviously for me, it's so nice to be in a circle while I'm pregnant, and feeling like held into this circle myself as well.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to, in Mother Circle, the practice as we open, we introduce ourselves and we introduce our mother line. So we're going to model that for you, each of us as Mother Circle facilitators, as we start to get used to calling in the energy of mothers into the circle and into our lineage and our ancestors. So for those of you watching the recording, you can use this as a practice, an introduction to developing your motherline introduction. So it goes like this. Hello, I'm Laura. I am the daughter of Catherine and Virginia. I'm the granddaughter of Wilma and Irene, and the great-granddaughter of Helen and Anna, and Nora and Virginia. And I am the mother of Ethan. Who would like to go next?
Thank you. So since my mother tongue is French, I'm going to do it in French. And during Circle, feel free to also do it in your mother tongue or in English or whatever language resonates more at the time. Je suis Marion, fille de Marielle, petite fille d'Yvonne et Lame, arrière-petite-fille de Popo et Célina. Je suis la maman de Rose.
Hello.
Hello, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Hello, I am Aurora, daughter of Patrizia, granddaughter of Matilde and Adele, great-granddaughter of Isolina and Regina, and mother of Elia.
Hi there. Aurora, we both have a Matilda. How exciting. I also just want to speak to the power that speaking the mother line into the space can be for some people. So I just want to honor that. If you find yourself introducing yourself in the mother line and you have tears or you're holding back tears, it's a very normal experience. So I am Sara, daughter of Judith, granddaughter of Matilda and Helen, and great granddaughter of Cecilia and Francis. And I am the mother of Julian, Malcolm, Juniper, and Malia.
I am Clara, daughter of Jennifer, granddaughter of Beatrix and Eva, and great-granddaughter of Rachel, Morgit, Mary, Josephine, and Sarah, and mother of Sylvan Ever and Sue Lorraine.
Thank you, everyone. We are in this section honoring the women that have brought us to this moment, who have made us and who are directly, indirectly involved in our own mother culture and our own leadership as mothers and how we show up as mothers. So honoring this practice and passing it off to the next.
Yeah, and this practice can bring a lot of emotions because maybe you're not in a relationship with your mother, your grandmother. There's like things there, and that's okay. This is something that we'll talk about in more detail, like in length, and where you can ask questions when we start the circle. So if you feel a bit, oh, no, that's okay. We know and we understand. I personally understand that. And then so we've breathed and we've introduced the mothers of our lives, and we move on to a different layer of embodiment and of presence. So everything that we're doing at the beginning of the circle is really to bring ourselves here in the present moment so that we can be here for the circle. We can be here for ourselves. The presence is sorry, my English over here. And we're present for ourselves and also for the circle. So it's a dance between all of us. And we take some time, we take some space to be here. And so the thing that comes now is basically talking about the sensations that we feel in our bodies. We're a lot in our head, and we a lot of time already know what we're feeling. So a good practice to really just be here in a curious state is to, scan our body and see what the sensations are. And we can just focus on one sensation if they're a lot, or maybe there's not a lot, and we also we we just deal with what's there. So sensation, I'm going to put a little okay, Sarah, you need to accept so I can share. So this is like somatic language that can be useful. So this is from, can you all see it? The vocabulary, the language. This is from the Sensory Motor Psychotherapy Institute. It's the list of words that can be helpful, maybe will be helpful or not. It's a very long list. Obviously, it's not exhaustive. You can make your own list in your own language. And I'm gonna start with myself. So I feel dryness in my mouth and a little fluttery sensation in my chest. Does anybody want to do it too?
I feel a little buzzy and a little cool, like cold.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I can feel some, like there's some energy in my chest, but also in the back body part of my chest, on the other side here. And when you asked, I was feeling like a little buzziness in my stomach, but it has shifted up here and also onto the top of my head. So, and it has kind of a shape, sort of here in my chest, a weightedness. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm noticing I'm feeling very like I can feel all the surfaces of my body that are in contact with the ground. So, and that's helping me feel nice and grounded. And then I feel some bubbly, like in the center of my chest and my belly that feel related to the excitement of gathering with you again.
And I feel a bit of tension in my stomach, but also I feel quite energized again, because obviously we're meeting, and that's quite, a nice way for me to get energized. It's even in here, so normally I would be very tired by now. So it's actually quite a nice feeling.
Thank you. And we're all sharing now because you're used to it. But when you come in circle and you don't feel like sharing, you can just write the words in a little notebook for yourself or keep them to yourself. And maybe one day you'll be ready to share. We encourage you to share, but obviously this is your space. This is something that you will do for yourself when you're ready. That's it.
Marion, do I need to, yeah, there we go. All right. That was also lovely. Thank you everyone for sharing your sensations and feelings. And I just wanted to take this time to kind of move into like what a individual circle could be like. And then a little bit later, I'll also talk about the whole series of Mother Circle. But we kind of just took one piece out of the circle to speak about today, and we're going to talk about the cycles of motherhood. And I think sometimes we often get in this realm of like every day is the same, and then we have this big life event like having a baby or welcoming a child into your life, and things are kind of on their trajectory or on their schedule. We all know what that's like, right? Whenever we're kind of dictated by sleep schedules or feeding schedules or the like. And then even as the children get older, then it's like soccer games and whatever else is going on. And I think it's easy, or it's normal for us to sort of get lost in that whole experience, right? And so the mother cycles class, it is a class within the arc, but also this specific piece of the archetypes are very much a way for us to find ourselves in the experience of motherhood. So some people really jive with archetypes. I'm one of those people. I like to see myself within the story of another way of being or another human or even sometimes non-human. um, and some people don't like archetypes. So if it's one of those things where you're like, I try, but I just don't get to it, it's okay. Like you don't have to take this on. This can just be a story to hear. Okay. So we've often heard about the maiden mother crone. If you've heard of that, I wouldn't be surprised. But there's another kind of section that is introduced in Mother Circle that sort of blew my mind the first time I heard it, and it cracked open a lot of understanding for myself, which is the Virgin. Now, I grew up in a Catholic house, and the Virgin Mary always seemed like this, you know, what is that word that everyone's using? Like demure, and like this kind of way of like untouched. She's sort of clean, you know. And when we really start to understand what that word means, it actually means something different. So I'm just going to kind of briefly go over some of these archetypes, and maybe even in this like brief moment, you might see where you are in that trajectory of things. And if you don't, we go into it deeper to where you then might find yourself even more associated with a specific archetype. So the maiden is usually associated with youth, innocence, carefree, playfulness, naivety, you know, this sort of trying out life, trying out what feels good. Maybe this does, maybe this doesn't, but there's still this like openness and this like ability to start over if it doesn't go the way that we want it to, right? And then there's the mother. And the mother is where we give birth to children, ideas, or work. So sometimes we're talking about mother circle from a perspective of having children, but sometimes we can mother ideas, right? Or we can mother a concept. And that is like definitely, you know, the nurturing vibe, like knowing how to nurture something, really leaning into all those soft edges and feeling what motherhood can do for us. Like it will transform us if we allow it. And then there's the Virgin. The Virgin is a woman whole unto herself. She is the untouched forest. The Virgin is not reduced to a girl who is uninitiated sexually, but instead describes a woman who is whole in and of herself. And I really believe that if we allow motherhood to transform us in the way that it is designed to, we will find ourselves seeking or looking for that virgin energy because we feel transformed and like, what are we going to do with this now? Um, it- so the virgin archetype is kind of this other layer of like, now motherhood is, I'm not really a mother anymore. I'm not like in the baby stage, we're always a mother, but we're not totally in the crone vibe yet either. So it's like the virgin is kind of this space in between. And I think there's a lot of mothers, especially now that people are older, whenever they have children, they're kind of in this limbo land space. Um, and then there's the crone. And the crone is older wise women offering our wisdom back to the community, which I think is really important to understand about the crone. The crone is always returning back to the community to offer the wisdom. So in our current world, or in our current Anglo-North American Western culture, we tend to disregard our older people, and especially women, as if there's no more use for them. And in understanding the crone archetype, we know we can actually feel viscerally how important that energy, that wisdom that they have to offer, is to be returned to us. Maiden, mother, virgin, all of those layers. Now, what I also think is really important to understand about these archetypes is that we're moving in and out of them at all times. We're never like disregarding the maiden and never returning to her. We're always returning to her in different ways. Same thing with mothering, same thing with being a virgin, and same thing with crone. There are definitely some things in my life that I am not the old wise woman yet, but I have some crone vibes. So that's just like one little piece. Now, the archetypes also can correlate to seasons of weather, can also correspond to the cycles in our ovulation and menstruation. And we go through all of that while we're in Mother Circle, and we get to orient to ourselves and each other with that. And we get to move through the circle with that understanding from that point going forward. Does anyone here feel like they really resonate with a certain archetype that I shared? I'd welcome you to come off mute and share where you.
Yeah, I'm grinning because I just the exploration of the archetype of the Virgin, the introduction to it was so powerful. I actually still really carry it in myself day to day, because another way of exploring this archetype is to think of a virgin forest, and like a forest is whole and unto itself, a completeness to its both interconnectedness and individuality of the tree. And so that has the sovereignness of that phase of life, and that phase of my experience has been, that's exactly where I am. And that has been so, like, I felt my courage more by having that sense of identification with this phase of my life. So yeah, so thankful for just that mother circle introduction to this archetype. Yeah. And also the part where I can now see how our culture is always pulling pulling us back to a maiden way of interacting with the world, which is not my current self. And my habits need to attune and grow into this bigger capacity of sovereignty. So yeah, it's been amazing.
Thanks for sharing that. We probably have time for like one more person to share maybe where they're at in the archetype cycles.
I just want to, to second Laura as well, how beautiful this archetype is. I was literally driving like the other day and I thought about this, as for me, more as a goal personally than my actual reality. But it's such a beautiful image that takes us a bit away from, any other image I have experienced or I've been taught before about womanhood. So definitely for me, an aspiration at the moment. That's where I'm at. But it's beautiful image, and it's reassuring, and it's powerful, and it's empowering. So I absolutely love this archetype.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing, both of you. And I just want to say that every time I've been in Circle through this piece, the cycles, it's always transformative for people, even when they know about the mother maiden crone and understanding the menstruating cycles and like syncing with that. There's something really powerful for being in Circle and hearing where people are at in that and seeing yourself in that. So that is really powerful. I would like to begin closing our circle here today by inviting Clara to read a poem, and then when that is finished, I'm going to explain just like the nuts and bolts of Mother Circle, and then we'll wrap up.
Thanks, Sara. And so I just want to honor just the sharing that has happened today, that we often, maybe always, end our mother circles with a poem or a blessing that just is sort of a little bit sealing the experience. When we gather in these circles, it's a sort of, it's, putting a little more of the ritual, that some of that has fallen away in our modern life, and that these sort of rites of passage and honoring the different phases that we move through are so important. And so there are so many moments in our weekly circles that do that, and the poem is just an offering to just receive and feel whatever's there for you. And if it flows through and you forget it, all good. So I invite you to receive this. Take a breath and just breathe in this blessing in the round. This blessing cannot help it. It's the way it was designed. Lay it down and it rises again. Release it and it returns. Give it away and it makes a path back to you. There's no explaining how it delights in reappearing when you have ceased to hold it. No hiding the sly smile it wears when it shows up at your door. No mistaking the wonder when it circles back around just at the moment you thought you had spent it completely, had poured it out with abandon. Where you saw the deepest thirst for it, had put it entirely in the hands of those desperate in their hunger. But here it is, the perfect circle of it, pressing into your hand that curls around it and then lets go, receiving and receiving again, like the breath that does not belong to us, but sets us in motion. Thank you, Jan Richardson from Circle of Grace. So, Sara, can you share with us a little more about the arc
Yeah,
that will travel?
that was beautiful. So thank you for sharing that with us. It really sets the tone for the rest, right? So for the arc of the Mother Circle, we begin on October 26th. Maybe if you guys want to type into the chat what your time zone is so that I can never remember all the time zones, but I do know that we begin at 12 Central Time. And once people share that, I'll come back around to that. But okay, it says we've got 10 Pacific, 6 p.m. BST, 7 p.m. CEST, and 1 p.m. EST. So hopefully that connects with you. And if you have questions about time zones, please let us know. We can help you out with that. So you got a little taste of what Mother Circle, how we open, how we be within the circle, how we close the circle. I'm gonna give to you the titles of each circle so that you can kind of understand how the arc works. You can also go to our website and see a longer description of each course. There's Mother Dive, Mother Cycle, Mother Body, Mother Jaguar, Mother Birth, Mother Lover, Mother Worth, and Mother Code. Now, in that you may or may not understand what all of that means, but I can tell you that the arc starts off and we get to the top of the arc, which is a lot more charge, a lot more big questions, a lot more things that mean things to us. And then as we slow down, we end the circle in a way that feels wrapped up, complete, and whole with like things you can take with you as you move beyond the circle. Okay. So we touch on a lot of important things throughout the entire circle. I want to like go into them, but I'm like, no, just know that these are big questions that we all ask, that all of us are asking. Or if you haven't asked yet, you probably will be soon. Okay. But you get to ask those questions in a held container so that you feel supported through your journey. Okay, so October 26th, 2025, 12 p.m. Central Time, all those other times that I listed. You can go to our website, mothercirclecollab.wixsite.com/MC Collective. It's a long one, but that's what we got to do. And you're still welcome to join us. Our doors are still open until that day. Okay. And it's $199. I invite you and any mother that you know or anyone who takes care of mothers to join us. Did anybody want to add anything else that I maybe have forgotten?
We also have a student workbook that goes along with each of the weeks that you will receive in a PDF form that was created by another facilitator. And this includes all of the visual guides for each of the weeks and journal prompts, as well as things that you can take with you and do at home, the things that we'll do in the class. So this is really valuable as well.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah, I was
you.
going to also add, just join as you are, join with kids, join with babies on your laps, join from the kitchen, from the bedroom, from the closet, wherever feels great for you. And there'll be recordings as well, which, you know, if you miss a class because of life, you can catch up. And again, also the workbook allows you to revisit things for years ahead. Because you're likely, you know, wanting to revisit things, or you have a different prospect about any practices, where to be the breath practices, or, you know, the poems, the sharings, the archetypes, and you know, you might want to revisit that later on.
Yes, that's a great addition. And I think that, yeah, every single time I go through a circle, I end up being in the circle again. And I love that. All right. Thank you so much for your time and attention today, and hope to see you in the circle.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Bye.